Good afternoon. I'm John Celentano with Tessco Strategic Marketing Team, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar entitled Cellular Signal Boosters, Past, Present, and Future. Before we get started, a couple of housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded today, Friday, March 14th, 2014, and is scheduled to run for approximately 45 minutes, followed by a brief question and answer period. A replay of this webinar will be posted on the SureCall portal page on Tessco.com. So let's get started. On February 20th, 2013, the Federal Communications Commission issued a report and order 1321, referred to as FCC 1321, that set new rules and policies for signal booster use among commercial and industrial users. The reason for such a review and a new ruling on signal booster use is that carriers were discovering more instances of interference in nearby cell sites from boosters operated by individuals and organizations alike. At the same time, these users had no clear guidelines as to what or what was not allowed. These new rules are intended to enhance wireless coverage for consumers and businesses by broadening the availability of signal boosters that meet new FCC technical specifications while ensuring that these boosters do not adversely affect the existing cellular networks. FCC 1321 rules took effect on March 1st, 2014 for industrial and Part 90 public safety signal boosters, and the rules have been extended to take effect on April 30th, 2014 for consumer signal boosters. Under the new rules, FC 1321 requires signal booster owners to 1. Obtain wireless service provider consent to operate the device, and 2. Register the device with their serving wireless service provider prior to operation. Our presentation today will look at some of these issues and show how different types of signal boosters can be used in different applications. So let's get started. Your presenter today is Kurt Burkhardt. He's Director of Sales and Marketing at SureCall. He's an industry veteran and has worked with cellular carriers, distributors, VARs, and end users on consumer signal booster applications. I've been in the industry over 25 years, and my focus is telecom network infrastructure. And I work with Tessco to help position and serve customers who build, use, and maintain wireless networks. Tessco is the leading wireless equipment distributor in North America. We represent over 300 manufacturers and some 25,000 products. We are partnered with industry-leading signal booster equipment manufacturers such as SureCall, and we deliver customers reliable, cost-effective wireless solutions at the total low cost of ownership. SureCall, by Cell Phone Mate, is an innovative leader in cellular booster technology, specializing in the design and manufacture of cell phone signal boosters and accessories. And with that, I'll turn it over to Kurt.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to say hello to everybody, and we've been entertaining this discussion for about a year now, as everyone knows. So to give a little history on the development of all of this, it's good for everyone to know that signal boosters have been in play in the market since around 2000. SureCall has been making products for the industry since 2001. And it's good to know under the circumstances that all signal boosters have been FCC tested along the way, or at least most of them in the U.S. So there has been FCC certification along the way, but the development of certain product in the marketplace, there was noise, there's the opportunity for signal boosters to create noise to the tower, so more rigid standards needed to be developed, and that's really at the heart of all this. So last year, on February 20th, the ruling came down and was pretty much presented to everybody in the industry, and the important information that was put out there, as is noted on the slide, is that signal boosters represent a cost-effective means of improving our nation's wireless infrastructure. And what they meant by that was pretty simple. You know, there's a lot of different ways to skin the cat. There's DAS systems, and there's VoIP and other types of systems to provide signal where there's a deficit. And the important thing to understand for everybody is that none of the systems that are in play, or no known system, is really perfect for everything. So this wide market exists, and signal boosters was made legitimate and given credibility by the FCC with this ruling. And then Commissioner Janikowski at the time even proclaimed it to be essentially a rolling out of the signal booster industry. So we took that as very positive news. It gave us the sort of merit and legitimacy that we wanted and needed, and we were able to move forward at that time. So the other thing that's important to know is that the date that all of this was to take effect was effectively March 1st of 2014, and a coalition of manufacturers like ourselves applied for an extension, which was granted recently by the FCC, so that the actual date all of this will go into effect at this point is April 30th. So going forward, it's important to note that beginning May 1st and going forward, all signal boosters sold in this country should meet the new FCC requirement. Part of the reason that the FCC extended the deadline was really the FCC didn't really start giving the full force of their attention to the FCC certification until about January. So there were protocols and testing measures that they were going over, and there was a government shutdown, and there were some of those kind of developments led to this delay. So that kind of put us in the position we are now. So at this time, SureCall has 4 boosters that are FCC certified. We have 6 more waiting for final certification and a couple more that are still in testing, all of which should be, there's no indication that we won't have all of those tested and certified well prior to the new date. So the next thing we would like to talk about is, what really is the meat of the new regulation? What was the source of information they needed to be changed, and the specifications that were important? And so I've listed here a couple of the main points for you. So probably the most important feature that the new specs affect are on each band. So you know that bidirectional amplifiers and signal boosters, for the most part, up until a few years ago, were 2-band on the 800 and 1900 frequencies. And then SureCall actually brought about the first tri-band amplifiers, and subsequently the first 5-band amplifiers. And each of the bands, in the past, we used to pretty much talk about having a 80 dB or a 70 dB or a 65 dB amplifier. And going forward, since each of the individual bands have a little bit different power max requirement, they will be more like a bit of a hybrid. So in order to speak intelligently about the amplifiers themselves, we'll need to know that, say, the AWS band is limited to 72 dB, the PCS band at 71, the Cellular at 65 dB, and the LTE, really both blocks, the AT&T and Verizon employ, are limited to 65 dB. How that affects the amplifiers is, it does bring the overall power down a little bit, and therefore some of the coverage or the area that the amplifier is going to cover well is brought down to some degree. So to take further the steps that the FCC employed, there were 3 or 4 other important specification differences. One of which is the power limit was changed down to 1 watt EIRP from 3 watt. So, for instance, a very powerful amplifier that we make that's known pretty well in the industry as the Force 5, a 5-band amplifier with 80 dB coverage pretty much across the board for all 5 bands, is a 3 watt amplifier. And the new version would be a 1 watt amplifier. It's pretty much the average of those individual power requirements, making it probably about like a 70 or 72 dB amplifier. And in sort of graphic terms, if you had a circle drawn on a map and drew another circle inside of it, about a quarter smaller in diameter, and made that smaller circle represent roughly a 30-mile diameter, then the outside line might be 50 miles or 40 miles. And so the difference in power is significant, but it doesn't render the amplifiers ineffective at all. There's still quite a significant coverage area. So if I didn't confuse everybody on that, basically the 1 watt EIRP is still ample coverage for most all of our signal boosters and the sizes that cover homes or small business or vehicles, of course, will be adequate. So the next thing that is important to understand with the new technology is they kind of added a triple safeguard to the tower. Obviously, the most important function for the carriers was overall reduction in noise and problems that result from noise to the tower. They spend a little bit too much time running around trying to solve those problems. So everybody agreed that it's in the best interest for the industry in general to employ more safeguards. And so the 3 that will be in all of the new boosters going forward are refined automatic gain control and better oscillation detection and a more refined automatic shutdown feature. So, you know, between manufacturers and from product to product, some of the newer amplifiers employed 1 or the other or 2 of those 3. That, you know, that some of the features were there and some weren't in some of the past amplifiers. Now all the new ones will employ all 3 of those. They kind of work as checks and balances against each other, and will make it renders the amplifier in general, the signal booster, virtually, I don't want to say impossible, but it's going to be very, very difficult for these products to cause noticeable problems for the tower. Okay, and in the case that there's a situation where that is the case and there still is noise being generated to a tower, then of course the carriers can inform the user of such problem, and then they would hopefully work with the manufacturer like ourselves and our technical support to figure out there's always a fix to that. So we're pretty comfortable that for the most part carrier issues are going to go away. When they do come about, we'll have a pretty good idea of how to solve it, and so the consumer, whoever's employing the use of signal boosters, will be in pretty good hands and not have too much problem ever going forward. Another feature that's that's in the new boosters that hasn't been there too much in the past is a stealth mode. And that means that basically it makes most of the boosters a little greener. It makes them a little better in terms of saving energy. They basically, if there's no uplink activity, they will go into a sleep mode and sit that way until the next time the uplink sort of pings the unit and wakes it back up. So there'll be a lot of overnights when the units are saving money or not using up energy as much. And then a fourth important aspect of the new specifications deals with out-of-band emissions, or OOBE, and the detection of such. And I can't speak too directly to exactly how that works, other than to tell you that the current or the previous specifications allowed for a nominal amount of out-of-band emission, and the new specification basically tightened that and dramatically reduces the amount of allowable out-of-band emissions. I think, particularly on the 800 band and in other areas, the out-of-band emissions were most problematic and a little bleed over into some of the public safety bands, and so that was the big concern with that. So they tightened that spec. The amplifiers or the signal boosters really work most effectively with the bands that they're intended to be. So those are the primary intelligent features that are added to the new boosters. In the future, we're still looking at a wide range of amplifiers or signal boosters. We all know there's the M2M solution, which are small, relatively low power. I think the new spec on them is about 15 dB amplifiers used in gaming and vending machines and teller machines, ATMs. There's a class of acceptable boosters for all vehicles, and those tend to be, I think it's a 50 dB limitation for boosters that are intended for moving vehicles. So that can be cars, RVs, buses, boats, what have you. The next class would be for homes and SOHO type, small office, home office type applications. So there's a range of boosters there that pretty much max out at about 65 dB. And those will all be adapting the new technologies, and actually there will be very little change in the coverage and capabilities for home boosters. And then a fourth class is sort of commercial or in-building or enterprise solutions. Our company, SureCall, makes a couple of products that we call dual force or the Force 5, which are highly linear. They can support literally hundreds of callers at a time, and they have enhanced coverage up to 25,000 square feet in the new product. So all of these additions and the changes are being adopted to all of our products, and as I mentioned a little bit before, most of these products are already FCC approved. We have several that are still waiting for the final approval and expect that pretty quickly. So just briefly going over those four classes of products, the M2M product is limited at 15 dBs. It's a 1 watt. We employ a compartmentalized design inside the casings of our products that you'll see on each of our products, and it's kind of a performance-related design feature that we stick to. it helps reduce the noise and transference that happens inside the booster itself. So we tend to enjoy the performance characteristics that come about from having that design. All of our products are made in a durable metal casing that allows for proper and adequate and excellent heat dissipation. And of course, we try to remain cost competitive. In the mobile area, our products are going to take on a new name. We're distinguishing them as Flex to Go. So the to go aspect being the mobile should help our people identify the mobile amplifiers because they are limited to 50 dB. I believe our products will be the only mobile devices with adjustable gain for each of the bands independently. So we'll have the Flex 2 Go, and we also have a Tri-Flex 2 Go. And both models are 50 dB, adjustable down to 30, and they employ all the same options I talked about before with the compartmentalized design and the casings. We have these in the 2G, 3G Flex to Go versions. The Tri-Flex, I should note, are a 4G option. I like to think of them as a hybrid because the 2G, 3G bands will operate and boost signal for all carriers, basically. And then they have the third option, the third band, which is carrier specific to its 4G. So we have an AT&T version, we have a Verizon version, and we have a T-Mobile version. The T-Mobile also is on the same frequency for Canada, so we do have a Canada version of that same product. The next level would be for homes and Soho, and again, all of the same features pretty much apply, but the highest max gain in that level is 72 dB, but they still have adequate coverage and performance for, you know, the largest of homes for the most part. We have them in the 2-band Flex Pro design. We have Tri-Flex, which is, again, the sort of hybrid version in the 2Go version, which is, you know, this one has the greater power requirement. And then this introduces, in this class, our 5-band offering, which we call Fusion 5, and that amplifier satisfies the requirements of all 5 bands and is independently attenuated as well. Again, reconfigurable for each band. We do, you know, 4,000 square feet or so with each of those amplifiers, and again, we'll stay very cost competitive in that range. The last class of products that we have is what we call the, you know, enterprise or in-building sort of solutions. We have 2 products historically have been workhorses for this company, and the Dual Force, formerly known as a 2020, is a 2-band, fully attenuatable. It can be adjusted uplink and downlink on both 800 and 1900 frequencies. The you know, they kind of tap out or max out at about 72 dB, and can cover about 25,000 square feet now. Whereas we had older versions that were up to 80 dB and could do, you know, 50 or 80,000 square feet pretty easily. And then our very popular Force 5, the earlier signal booster was 80 dB and could do 80 to 100,000 square foot. But the new version, with all 5 bands being able to uplink and downlink, attenuate, so it's fairly well adjustable, will cover about 25,000 square feet. Okay, so I know a lot of installers are concerned about the need to employ the use of more amplifiers or more signal boosters for space, but we still believe it's a very cost-effective value analysis when you factor in installation costs and cable. Most of the design stays the same with a few changes, but yeah, there will be the need for a few more amplifiers for large space, and we still think the cost-value analysis will be very attractive to space where cost is an issue. So the other feature with these products is they're highly linear, and they actually do support up to hundreds of callers. So these have been very successful on the marketplace, and we'll continue to have them available. So that brings us to questions.
All right, Kurt, thanks so much for that information, that coverage. We do have a few questions. Let me just go through them one at a time, and we'll get your response.
Okay.
First one, does this new ruling have a positive or negative impact or effect on the industry?
Well, that's a good question. Obviously, when the ruling first hit February 20th last year, we all scrambled a little bit because on first glance, the rules looked very stringent and very much limiting. But as you read through the document and got the further intent and allowances under the law, we began to realize very quickly that there were some very important aspects of the entire ruling, and that is, one, that it really did legitimize and give value to our products and our industry's products in the wireless infrastructure, that because there's enough space in buildings and homes and vehicles throughout the country where there is enough signal deficit, I think the carriers recognize that optimal signal in more places is good, and certainly for the data flow capabilities. So it's been a very positive impact for us, and I think everybody will see that.
Great. Another question: do signal boosters have to be kitted? I know you showed some pictures where that included the booster and cabling and antenna. Does it have to be sold that way?
Well, right now we've been exploring that pretty dramatically. We're trying to figure out exactly what the law intends there, and the current school of thought really is that, yes, the intention is that everything has to be kitted. So we're going to be providing all of our signal boosters in a kitted fashion. The law does state that, you know, the people, the consumer needs to be able to attain parts and pieces or you know, cable or antennas or replacement amplifiers in cases where that comes up. So there's still going to be the need for the sale of individual items, and I guess I would add a personal note from my understanding of all this, which may or may not jibe with everybody's out there, but I believe that sometime, maybe 6 months or a year down the road, the need for diversity in the way the kits are put together will sort of generate a sort of back to business as usual capability. At least for the most part, product would be sold in kits, but I think you'll see more and more people needing you know, cables, antennas, and individual boosters for replacements or additions, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I guess the real answer is right now it looks very much like the law intends for kits, and we'll leave it at that.
Okay, good. We know that part of the ruling was that boosters must be registered, that the user or operator must register with the carrier, but that begs the question, do people have to register their booster with every carrier?
Yeah, that's a tough question. As far as we can tell, the onus on the party that has to register, being the operator of the boosters, whether they be in homes or small businesses or wherever, they're required to register them, but it really doesn't spell out with whom. Most of us thought that the FCC or the carriers would come together with sort of a clearinghouse type website or somewhere people could register and make it accessible to each of the carriers so they have the information, but nothing like that has come about at this point. I can tell you that Verizon and T-Mobile, I believe, have sites on their websites that are available now for registrants to go on and identify that they've, I think it's pretty simple, just an address and who what the booster is. But there's still a lot of work to be done there. I think the carriers need to make it a little easier for people. There's nothing that says, if you're maybe a Verizon household, you might choose Verizon to register, and I believe their site requires you to be a Verizon customer to register. But independently, you might have a mixed household with some AT&T users and some Verizon users, or a commercial installation where there's no telling who all is coming and going, and there's really not a very clear resolution to that. So our position at SureCall has been to tell people that they need to register with somebody, and leave it at that until better news comes about.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think the term was I've seen as a local serving wireless carrier, something to that effect. But and I think to be in compliance, they need to just register with a carrier.
Yeah, at least that way they've done their share. I think the industry would be well served to come up with a, maybe on the FCC page, a depository for registrants, and that the carriers could have access to that information. Because really, I think the purpose is so at a certain location, a certain tower notices noise coming from a certain address, they can access the database and see what they're up against before they go out there. So that would be the benefit to them, and having it a little bit unclear as to where they register is just going to delay the benefit.
Okay, good. Another question, what about inline boosters?
A popular part of the in-building discussion anyway for consumers would be, particularly in vertical installations and some other installations where long cable runs might be necessary. Ourselves and other manufacturers have employed the use of what we call inline boosters, and they are not part of the new ruling. In other words, we are not making any inline boosters under the new specifications. I think they were basically purposely left out. The old style inline booster was basically a signal booster minus all of the technical specifications. So it was basically just an amplifier. So it didn't have gain control or noise reduction or oscillation detection. It was really just passing the signal on, giving it a little more power until it got to the amplifier that had all of the tools built into it. So I think the compromise in the industry was they kind of went away with, they just don't want any signal boosters out there that don't have those 4 or 5 safety features that we talked about.
Okay, good. Here's another question. I have an existing booster, and I presume they're suggesting that it's been in service since before the ruling. Can I still use it?
Absolutely. There's the only caveat to it. It was spelled out directly in the FCC ruling that existing boosters are grandfathered in, per se. They would like them to be registered, and they would, and the ruling supports that if it happens to be an area where noise is problematic and they are affecting one or more towers, that they, just like with the new product, basically the carriers have the right to come in and ask you to stop the use of the booster long enough to fix the problem and make it go away. And I can add to that, at least as far as SureCall is concerned, we always are able to fix that situation if it comes to our attention. And I think the problem we're out there is for people that are unaware that the booster is causing the noise. So there should be a lot less of those incidents going forward. We kind of tend to think that if there's noise now, they would have heard about it already, but so they should be okay. But I should note that this kind of highlights one of the best, one of the early questions was about whether this was positive or negative for the industry, and this aspect is one of the most positive developments. That before there was any rules in this or in a law, often people were intimidated or told that signal boosters were outlaw and rogue and not legal and what have you, and it spoiled a lot of opportunities, I think. But going forward, one of the best aspects of now having a law that we're seeing is affecting the carriers pretty openly already is that they, the compromise is, people are allowed to have them. It's part of the infrastructure now. It's legitimized, and let's just work together. If there's a situation out there causing noise, it gets fixed, or we hope that's the case.
Great. That leads to our last question. Do you think this ruling will help or hinder new product development?
Well, I'm glad you asked that one because we, at least at SureCall, our company has been an innovative leader in this industry from the get-go. Our lead engineer and CEO has done a great job of bringing new technology to market. And while I can't speak directly to some of the products that are on his plate and ready for him to begin development on or next level development, we've had so much to do with redesigning all of our old product that a number of projects are on hold that I can't wait for him to get back to. So the answer is it's going to help. We have a clear set of rules to work by on the one hand, but there are still a lot of really great things coming down the pike. And I'm, for one, I'm very excited about some of the new ideas that I've heard already. So we're really looking forward to the future on this.
Terrific. Well, look, Kurt, I want to thank you for your insights and information you provided today. I think it's been very helpful. And I'll just remind everyone this discussion will be replayed on the SureCall portal page on Tessco.com. And we thank everyone for their time today, and this concludes our presentation. Thanks again, Kurt.
All right. Thank you very much.